Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. This is probably one of the most emotional things I've ever done in my life, and it has nothing to do with the film, but just the experience of it, and having to be here without the person who birthed Eleshionba for screen. Biyi Bandele was an amazing guy. He was truly a phenomenal person, a human being filled with passion, with talent, with love. He was an actor's director. You know, he would remember we did Blood Sisters. And he was such a gentle soul, you know, and a gentleman through and through, an African gentleman, you know?
Is there anything specifically that you'd like to share? Just tell us a little story, give us a little snippet of some interaction that the two of you had.
Eleshionba is very triggering for me. You know, the history of our country and the constant rape of our resources and our people for so many years, you know, and then this story touches on that. And so I was angry, you know, reading the script, having seen the play. I was supposed to be in the play about a year before. Things didn't quite pan out. So I had read, you know, the stage play. And then I get a call, you know, that Eleshionba was coming to screen. I was so excited. And then Biyi sends me the script. And it was different, you know. It was different from the stage play, and I remember being very angry, and even more so when we got on set, and it was time for Olunde, the character that I played, to interact with Mrs. Pilkins, and I was angry, like saying those lines. I was really angry, but we never saw those clips. That wasn't what we saw, because there's a clip I just put up on my Instagram, you know, of that scene, and I remembered clearly how after the first take, after doing it with such venom, you know, and telling this white person that, you know, this is what you've done to us, he just walked on set and whispered into my ears. He said, "Olunde, you're not angry. You're above this. You're amused. You know them." You know, and those were his words, and it just totally changed the temperature of the scene for me. It changed the direction, and I understood immediately what he meant. And that's eventually what made the cut. He didn't have to go.
This is someone that I've known personally myself for many years. There's a particular story, it's a bit of a naughty story that he told me about 12 years ago, which I often repeat, but I never say exactly who it happened to, you know. But it was just something really funny. So it hit me quite hard as well. And it was just the shock of it, really, wasn't it? It seemed to just come out of nowhere.
We were texting a few days before.
Yeah? How did you hear?
We were going to TIFF.
Yep.
You know,
Toronto
International Film Festival. And we were all excited. you know, and we're texting, yo, you're coming, we're going to paint the town red. And I don't remember, was it, I think someone sent me a text, said, is this true? Oh, is what true? Like, what were you talking about? Yeah, we were going to tape for something, but I think I knew immediately. You know, Nigerians now, we don't have filter sometimes. No chill, you know. And then I went online. I just Googled it, and immediately I had seen, you know, posts about it. That was, as I called Moabudu, and she confirmed it. Yeah.
That's actually exactly what happened with me as well.
Yeah.
So I got the information and I immediately called her to say what's going on, you know, and I don't know, everybody was kind of thrown into collective mourning. I think partly because of his age, but also because he was somebody who gave so much. And the story that you've told, it just sounds so much like Biyi, you know, kind of calling you aside and those words. That's exactly the kind of thing that he would do. And I think it's also that he knew you and he knew exactly how to get the right kind of response from you, what he wanted to get out of that scene. So, I mean, that was really moving. Did you have many more interactions kind of offset?
Yes, we did. So I met Biyi. See, he's only in two places like this. I can call him by his first name, or Egbon is what I call him. Called him. I met him on a film project, on a series project in 2013. I had just resigned from work, and I had gotten this gig, Sugar, MTV Sugar, which he was directing. I get on set the first day, we meet, you know, we have this great conversation. We shoot a first few, like 2 scenes that day, and the next day I fell ill. Doctors were like, you can't do this. And that's how I got out of, you know, MTV Sugar. But we kind of kept in touch. And then Blood Sisters was coming, and that kind of rekindled that relationship. We had chatted a few times over the years, and we just kept talking, because that was, you know, another character that, you know, one had to be very careful with. And so he talked me through that entire process. Literally saved me from losing myself, you know, in that character. And then I
want you to actually talk about that a little bit. Like, what does that mean for your director to save you from losing yourself to a character?
Has anyone seen Blood Sisters? Okay. It's
Who's seen Blood Sisters?
It's on Netflix. It's on Netflix.
It was amazing. I loved it.
Thank you. I played a really horrible character, horrible. But, you know, at some point there were some things going on set, and they tried to, you know, they were trying to decide what character I was going to play. Oh, I fought for that character. I fought tooth and nail. I think I fought Desi, and I went back and I called B. You have to make sure that it's the kind of, and he went crazy on the production. Said, like, there's nothing you can do. Desi is going to play. I was like, okay, not that much, but I got to keep the role, because I felt how powerful that role, you know, is, for many reasons. And this character was a piece of work, like very violent, you know, yet, you know, had all the makings of, you know, a charming, young, upwardly mobile,
Jekyll,
you know,
Hyde.
Very Jekyll and Hyde. And in this space, we don't get a lot of support. Maybe it's across all the arts, but especially as actors, you know, there's no one to really hold you back and hold your hand, you know. So it's a free fall. If you fall, you're and I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. But with B and playing this character Kola, he would spend time, you know, in conversation. And I think I remember now what he was trying to do was remind me about who I am, you know, every single time, every time on set. That scene where Kola hits, I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it. That scene, he allowed me to be alone the entire day, you know, and I was in a dark room. I asked to be in a specific kind of space, and he allowed that to happen, and no interruption until we got on set. A lot of things that happened were mad because he allowed it to happen. He didn't try to block everything specifically. He just allowed magic to happen. And right after that, you know, they reached out. Netflix actually provided therapy sessions. Yeah,
Well,
that's I needed
for
it.
just you.
Well,
Because there were other people in the Lord Sisters that needed therapy too.
I don't know what anybody else did. I needed it, you know. So I went.
That's amazing. You did mention earlier that you'd been invited to play a part in the stage play, the stage production of Death of the King's Horseman. And I just wanted to ask, to play the same character?
I don't think the conversation extended to the point where I yes.
Yeah, but you'd read the play. So you kind of read the play a year before.
The year before.
Okay, you hadn't read it before that, so you didn't read it in school. You didn't study literature.
I studied engineering. I was a science student who eventually got into uni to study chemical engineering.
Okay. I'm asking because I'm just curious about the sort of preparation that goes into playing that kind of role. And for some of us, I guess I feel a little bit arrogant saying this, but for people who studied literature, like from when you're 14 years old, you're reading Death and the King's Horseman, you read it in school, and then in university, you can't get away from it, you know, so it's pretty much embedded in our heads. When I was sitting there, Tony Khan just moved, you know, close to me and said, do you remember this line from this? I didn't see it in the movie. And I'm looking at him thinking, how am I supposed to remember that? But it is an interesting line, and I'm coming back to that. But what sort of preparation, I mean, do you think you had to do? I can appreciate what Biyi did, but on a personal level, how did you approach that role?
So, apart from having read the stage play, which was a very difficult read, by the way, you know, which is why I tried to get back into school to study theater arts, but it just wouldn't let an engineer. I don't know why, but so
it didn't gel.
They just weren't taking it, and so it was difficult. I suspected that there was a lot of, you know, symbolism somewhere that, you know, literature gurus would know and I wouldn't have any idea of. It was a bit of a difficult read, but I stuck with it. And then when the screenplay came, when the script came, when B sent his, it was easier, you know.
It's more accessible.
Yeah, it was more accessible, but having done that, I now spent, you know, quite a bit of time just researching that time. I went through archives. YouTube has quite a bit of content, you know, and I remember, probably still have the WhatsApp message where he sent me particular individuals who he wanted me to listen to, how they speak, you know, how they carry themselves. That's kind of like the image. He wasn't telling me, yo, be exactly this, but he just felt if I immerse myself enough, you know, and I studied these people, that, you know, they would, yes, it would be helpful. And it was helpful.
So I want to talk just a little bit about that line that Tony mentioned, and it's eater of leftovers. And I'm curious to know, as somebody who said those words, I want to know what it actually means to you, or what did it mean to you at the time, referring to Eleshionba in those terms. Because when you look at the relationship between a father and a son within the Yoruba context normally, you know who the Oga is, yeah? But for you to be able to say that, for any Yoruba son, any child, to kind of muster that kind of courage, what did that take?
Ooh. So a lot of the emotions that, as an actor, that I kind of like get them from real life situations, my past, sometimes, imagination, but when I really want to go deep, it's coming from somewhere. And I've always had this, funny relationship with my father, and I kind of like just put Eleshionba, in my father's skin. So I was, so I've been that guy who had to talk, yes, and had to confront, certain things. Maybe not as far as, Olunde went.
Yeah.
Definitely not as far as Olunde went. But I should go back a little bit and talk about Eleshionba itself, the film, and how Eleshionba to me represents our story, but this time in a way that the Eleshionba represents the older generation.
Tradition versus modernity, in a way.
Even worse, it's the generation right before ours that refused to let go out of greed.
Oh, so you're referring to the fact that, that was, I was listening to the actress talking about Eleshionba's tragic flaw.
Yes.
And that idea of, wanting everything.
Wanting everything.
And not caring enough about the consequences.
Having lived.
And how your actions, the impact that
Yes.
your actions have on other people.
On other people.
Yeah.
On the generations to come.
Yes.
Especially having lived a very privileged life. Because Eleshionba had everything. He was always going to die with the king, right? And so he was given a very privileged life. Everything he ever wanted, he got. And that generation lived a very privileged life. We know how scholarships and government jobs will wait for you at the end of the day. And I think it's sort of referenced, I don't know if that was what Prof was doing, but it sort of referenced that, for me. And so a lot of the things I was seeing, even the police officers, it reminds me of our security agencies and how they've been trained, from way back. And that's the same thing that we see playing out till today. Anyway, so Olunde looking at his father and saying those lines was a point where he just realized this man was so selfish, He was selfish beyond human proportions. He became, I think Olunde looked at his father like an animal. That was directed by greed.
Yeah, but when you're looking at your father like he's an animal who is consumed by greed, how then is the natural response to that as a child to sacrifice yourself?
So when the father fails, his son. What's that thing about the sins of a father?
Exactly.
Yes.
That's where I'm going.
Yes. And even though people will fail, people will mess up, but somebody has to pick up the slack. Somebody has to be responsible. Somebody has to take charge. And he's a son. And we know it's not just parent-child, it's father and son. And a son would almost, like I did, I always wanted to be like my father. I was, And so he knew what he had to do. He knew even then when he was saying those words, Allah Tenuje, which was interesting because Eater of Leftovers, we debated over what Eater of Leftovers was going to be for a while, you know, and right before we shot that scene, we had two, I don't remember the other one, but we had two things that were supposed to either say one or the other.
Options.
And B just came and said, you know what, Allah tenuje, you know. And that meant something else. Look, this entire film in Yoruba made so much more sense for me, you know, because the words actually meant something. They felt very heavy. Yeah. Allah tenuje versus Eater of Leftovers. I don't even think I could say Eater of Leftovers with.
It doesn't quite capture it.
You Eater of Leftovers.
It doesn't sound like a decent
Allah
insult.
tenuje.
But when you call someone Allah tenuje, in fact, the person has to
Uni
maybe go and
jekuje.
shower after because it's just so
Yes, it's-
insulting.
It is.
No, that's really. I mean, I like what you're saying about. I mean, employing Yoruba as the language here for this movie. Like, what have you ever done that before? Have you ever been on a movie set where it's like strictly Yoruba by the Yoruba speakers, if you know what I mean?
So, like many in my generation, we were raised to not speak Yoruba because back in school, you cannot speak this. So
What
I
about at home?
struggled. Back at home.
Were
back,
you discouraged from
even
speaking Yoruba?
even at home, we were never really speaking Yoruba. So I had to learn Yoruba on my own, more or less.
Really?
Yes, I had to learn Yoruba on my own. And I deliberately went into the Yoruba film industry, you know, to just force myself to speak that language, and it paid off. I didn't know Eleshionba was coming, and I didn't even speak it.
You
I
didn't
didn't speak
speak a lot
Yoruba.
of Yoruba.
I didn't, you know.
You know, you just come back from,
Yeah, from England.
and you were all, you know, very posh and everything. I thought it was,
Dr. Olunde,
yeah,
mind
Dr.
you.
Olunde, I know, who still, in the end, managed to, you know, pick things up for his. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that, despite all that education and all that exposure, it was like in his heart, he was still a very traditional person who
I
had
think-
a sense of what was right, you know, according to Yoruba.
I think unlike a lot of people who leave the shores of this country and then become different people, I think he traveled and then I think he rediscovered himself whilst there. I think just being able to look at the other people and say, no, these guys don't have all the answers. They don't. You know, they may know some things.
They're not operating from, you know, the angle of they love us and they like us.
No.
And it's got nothing to do with that. It was all, you know, rather self-serving. And I think that's one thing that really hit Olunde. So I'm going to open this up to the audience to see if you have any questions. There's somebody over there.
Thank you. My name is Tade Guardiola. I actually have a review of the film. It's by Olongo. And that particular portion of the film I addressed. Interestingly, Akin Umeshola translated it as Ajajeku, which is literal. You would agree with me if you speak Yoruba, especially the Oyo form that I do, that on the face of it, Alatenuja is really not as offensive as Alatenuja, as Ajajeku. However, coming from a son to a father is the psychic equivalent of saying the whole lineage ends here, which is actually what happened. So I congratulate you. Kola Tuboswai, I'm told, did the screenplay into Yoruba for what you did. It's epic. You should be proud of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. I have to say, let me ask you this, and this is, the people here won't thank me for this, but I'm going to ask anyway. Have you been looking at people's comments on social media, especially on Twitter?
Yes, I have.
I think I felt exactly the same as Tade when I watched this film. I was extremely moved by it. Olaokun and I watched it in England last Christmas. Miss Moabudu came to show it to us at home, and we thought it was...
I just saw it when it came out on Netflix.
No, I had to say that now. Look,
I never took light, but
there is flex and there is flex. Some of you are going to watch it in the cinema. Some of you are watching it on Netflix. They brought it for some of us at home. No, she's my big sister almost, and we have a really good relationship. And she seems to quite value my opinion on a couple of things. But
she does.
How do you know?
She told me.
Okay. Because me, I was just boasting.
She told me.
But what? God, I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Actually, I do apologize. But I thought it was brilliant. And it hit me quite hard reading some of the dismissive comments, especially, and I could see that it was coming from people who were quite young. And I was just thinking to myself, oh, is it that they don't know the work?
No,
is it that they don't understand the content? What is it they're not getting here?
It's those things and then some.
Okay.
And then some.
What's the sum? The sum. I want to know. I mean, is it that they are not reading?
No. We live in a clapback generation where negativity is,
negativity is king.
It's king. You probably get more likes on a negative comment than on a positive one. And some of these young people just live for that.
And I think there's a way in which Miss Mo Abudu also is often targeted. And there's a part of me that thinks that people feel that she's coming from a place of privilege. And it's sad that they don't know her story. And they don't know how hard she works. As somebody who works quite closely with her, whenever we communicate at 4 a.m., 3 a.m. most of the time. She barely sleeps. She's working all the time. And it's sad for me that people find it so easy to dismiss someone's work, in just a nasty, snide comment on social media.
Well, again, if you actually take those kind of comments to heart, like if I was here and I get those kind of comments, then I'll be worried, But no, I wasn't really moved. I just made one or two statements, which I hardly ever do but I just felt I needed to. This film is so special to me, and I got some flack for coming out, oh, as a leading man, you should not be making those kind of, and I'm like, no, I will defend what I want to defend.
That's right.
And I thought it was a beautiful film. There were scenes that were cut out. I was so angry because they cut out some scenes. Some really Olunde and Mrs. Pilkins scenes were like everything.
They were fire.
And it happens. It happens.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. Oh, good. Oh, Tony. Yeah. Sorry, do Tony, and then we're coming over to you.
So back to the eater of leftovers. So today, in the BTS, it was there.
Yes.
It was in the movie. Yes. So first thing I asked Lola was, have you read the book? And that's one. Secondly, I have 50 questions, so I just that. So the first one is, have you read the book? Number one. Number two, I hear you're the highest paid actor now in Nollywood. Is that true? Number two.
You want to lend me money?
So, number three is this. Yeah, I mean, so in Benin Kingdom, right, once a son is born to the Oba, he will never see his dad anymore. They can't meet face to face. I'm not sure if that happens in Yoruba land, but when he was running past and he saw you and he stopped, and then he looked at you and then that conversation happened. I just felt that the eater of leftovers was the core of the play for me, because like you just said, I think that just said, that is the end of, a family line, right? And taking it out of the final product for me rankles. I'm not Yoruba, I'm Igbo, but something that I read years ago and it hit me deep down, because I think this is Soyinka's Things Fall Apart, basically. Everything fell apart here. So doing this film now, Lola has said it, the younger folks maybe didn't understand the context in which this movie is being done. They see, a play, a movie, and they think, oh, it's just another Nollywood movie from Moabudu, but this has resonance for me. So doing this play, what do you think it has done for your career? I mean, my pastor and yourself are very good friends. Jimmy?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I mean, don't let the white beard confuse you. I'm a young man. He's just done The Woman King, and you've done this. And I think this is a very great movie. So where do you see yourself going from this?
This is better than Woman King, by the way, I'm just saying.
Okay, I'm saving for Jimmy, not for me.
Is it true that you're the highest actor in Nollywood now?
Lagos is a very dangerous
even
place.
Me, I'm curious now. I've never sat next to a highest paid actor before.
You don't go around claiming such things in Lagos.
It could be dangerous.
Could be. It's done a lot for my career. I'll start with the last. Being on a global platform, first of all, where the whole world gets to see, our work and our stories being told, has been phenomenal. That's happened to me, and this was just that feather on the cap of all the work that I've done. I've never been one to wait for someone to pat me on the back. I hardly acknowledge awards and things like that, but I just want to do great work. Like that's what I live for. That's why I left a very, very decent career,
Do you think this is what you were born to do?
I know this is what I was born to do. I know this is what I was made to do.
Yeah.
So there's that. You read the book.
Yep. Yes.
As I said, it was a tough one. I don't know how you guys did it. I would have failed. The second question was, the highest gross. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're not answering that one today. The gentleman over here, I want to take one last question from a woman. Yes.
Abdul.
Great. So the gentleman.
Abdul, you send me a tweet. You DM me.
This is the thing. You can't get away from Abdul Karim.
Hi, my name is John. So I
Hi, John.
am very interested in the relationship between the son and the father. So you made mention that going into the movie, what inspired your character or what fueled it was because you had similar situation with your father. So I'm interested in that. How was acting the movie helped that relationship or negatively affect it? Did you move forward from that? How has it helped you navigate that emotion, be it hate, be it love? How has it helped you move on? Yeah.
So that's a really good question. So the caveat is I never use emotions that I haven't healed from. I never use memories that I haven't healed from. So my father and I have a great relationship, Especially now that I have some money I can give him. So the guy likes me.
Yeah.
We're cool. No, I'm older now, I'm a man now, I have my own family. So there's some things that I kind of understand now. So that's...
And there's some things that you just don't care about as much anymore. As well. No?
Yeah.
No, well, it's that thing you're saying. When you have independence, there's certain things that when people say them or, you know, you just
You can
like, yeah, well,
yeah,
I'm not sleeping in your house tonight. You know, that kind of
there's
thing.
that too. Yeah, so healed from that. But I used the issues, not similar, you know, but the fact that I also had, you know, daddy issues, if you could call it that. So I used, you know, I got energy from that and I put it into Olunde. Yeah.
That's so interesting to hear because when I finished writing Baba Segi, because I have a very interesting relationship with my mom and it used to be really volatile. And when I finished writing that novel and I was, I think, going over it the 8th time, is when I suddenly realized that it wasn't, the circumstances they were not even similar. You know, the characters were very different. But the interaction, there was something about it, and I realized that I was just kind of bringing out that experience. So I think it's something a lot of creative people do, and sometimes not even consciously. You were doing yours consciously as you knew what you were doing. And I think that's just another level of maturity that I'm still kind of, I need to get to, I guess.
Yeah, I think our work is therapeutic. It's, yes, it lets us explore what's inside of us.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people have the opportunity to do that.
That's right.
You know, in their lives. I mean, I forget her name now, Atta?
Yeah, Aisha Arunata.
Yeah, she mentioned something about her books, you know, being the therapy.
Therapeutic,
Yeah,
yeah.
being therapeutic for her as well. Egg sources. Yes.
Yeah. What sugar? What sugar?
Thank you. Thank you so much to both of you. I think it's incredibly generous, actually, that you both have shared your journey, especially with Biyi as well. That was difficult, I'm sure, for both of you to talk about, but very generous of you to share it with us, so thank you. The East Africans are sufficiently challenged by this level of storytelling that you guys are churning out. I just wanted to say that it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tale and beautifully told. And Ake is welcome to form a fellowship for East Africans to come and learn how to do that. Thank you to both of you.
I think it's Ebony Life. We have to.
I don't know what you're talking about because we're looking at East Africa and I was like, these guys know how to make films. You know, there's a guy, Tonga, I forget, Tonga? Tosh Kitonga. Kitonga, right? Yeah, I've been following his work for a very long time. There's another actor that I'm fascinated by. He must be in his 70s, very fit, dark skin. I forget his name right now. But I think you guys do amazing work. Sugar, the first season of Sugar was shot. Lupita Nyong'o was in that season, and she got into a Hollywood film after that. So maybe, maybe, you know what I'm saying?
No, when I watched this movie, my mind went straight to how I felt when I watched Much Ado About Nothing, or Romeo and Juliet by Baz Luhrmann, or even some of the previous iterations. So I think it's just an incredible thing that to have this amazing piece of literature be presented in so many different forms, and to have had Biyi, who absolutely loved Professor Soyinka and his work and had so much respect for him, to be the one who actually then midwifes the work into this new, you know, art form of new medium of film is such a beautiful thing. And I think we have a lot to be grateful to him for. We will not forget him. we will continue to honor him. And this film, just having it in our lives, means that we will continue to have reason to honor him. And I also want to say a big thank you to you for the stories that you shared. I still don't have the courage to share some of mine, to be honest. But, you know, what you said just brought it home for me and reminded me of just what a phenomenal character that Biyi Bandele was. Yeah. Last words from you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
We live in a country where talent is not appreciated as it should be, where excellence is not the norm. So the opportunity to find an excellently written story, a play that was now adapted excellently, you know, by B, and then Moabudu, who is nothing else if not excellent, and then bringing together this group of people, actors, crew members, producers, everybody coming together to create what we now see as Election Bar. It totally changed my life, and it's an experience that I wish everybody here in their own way would live through, would experience, would feel. And I just think that we should keep working. It's taken about 10 years of toiling, you know, to finally be able to do these kind of films and to be, you know, recognized as a you know, leading actor in this country. But eventually it does pay off, you know. So if you're here, you have doubts. I had doubts. I actually went back to work 9 to 5. If you have doubts, it's okay. It's okay. Just take those doubts and remember that you're not the only one. Remember that there is, you know, there's a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. I'm here now. I'm having the time of my life. I am, and it's feels like I've been rehearsing all these years. This is my career just starting. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. On that note, and with that advice, I think we'll bring this session to a close. And I just, again, Deyemi, I want to say thank you. You know, the last time I saw you was at the Millard Awards. I don't know, 100 people in the arts or something. There was this award we were given. So Miss Mo Abudu was getting one, I was getting one. And she was introducing you to me. And she said, "You don't know Deyemi?" And I said, no, who is he? And he said, oh, he's an actor. I was like, oh, you know me now, I don't watch much television, you know, but I was so ashamed of myself. And then she said, you must watch Blood Sisters, and there you were. And then we saw this one, and there you were. So I am going to be following your career, and I'm sure everyone else here is going to be doing the same.
Please follow with prayers.
We are super proud of you. Thank you so much for joining us here. Thank you.